Well, in a moment, we'll speak to behavioural psychologist Jo Hemmings, but earlier I spoke to 18-year-old Ben. He's been struggling with his mental health since he was a child. He told me that the prolonged disruption and increasingly uncertain future has taken its toll.
It wasn't a physical thing, and that was...
You did get some help then, and you recognised the symptoms back then. And Ben, a lot of young people, of course, naturally, it's understandable, they're worrying about their futures.
The thought of another lockdown, which has been mentioned, kind of the potential for that.
Oh, 18-year-old Ben talking to me earlier. Let's talk now to behaviour. Now, when best friends Ayan and Mikhail learned about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, they decided they wanted to help. 24 million people there were in desperate need of aid. So the friends set up a lemonade stand to raise money for charity. Together, they've now made almost £40,000. Ivor Bennett met the boys earlier this morning. Ivor Bennett reporting there. And finally, when two young tennis fans in Italy couldn't leave their homes during lockdown, they made the most of their surroundings and began to play matches across the rooftops. Video of the friends rallying from roof to roof went viral and eventually caught the attention of one of their tennis idols, as Antoine Allen explains. What a selfie. And that's it this lunchtime. Charlene White is back here at 6:30. The News Where You Are follows the national weather. But for now, from everyone here, bye-bye. Hello again. Now, the main stories in London. 7 people between the ages of 16 and 35 have been arrested on suspicion of the murder of Alexander Karim, who was shot in Shepherd's Bush. All right, weather now. Here's Sally. That's it for now. I'm back here at 6. Until then, enjoy your afternoon. Bye-bye. Tonight, the £170 million match. Good evening. They are two championship clubs separated by just 4 miles in West London. But by the time Fulham and Brentford have finished playing tonight, the two sides will have far less in common. For the winner, it could be a £170 million payday into the richest league in the world. Brentford are the bookies' favourites, but they've never won promotion through a playoff campaign. 2 reporters now on 2 teams and 90 minutes with all to play for. Martin, some amazing fans there on both sides. What is your match prediction, though?
Look, it couldn't be any closer. Both teams played playoff finals 29 times and are just the bookies' favourites.
We'll see. Martin, thank you. Now, it started out as a single pizza restaurant in Soho in 1965, inspired by a trip to Italy and frustration at the lack of good pizza in the capital. 55 years on, Pizza Express is an institution on the high street with 122 restaurants in London and the home counties. But it's now the latest chain to have to restructure after trading stopped during the pandemic. 67 restaurants are at risk of closure, which would mean a loss of more than 1,000 jobs. Simon Harris reports. 7 people between the ages of 16 and 35 have been arrested on suspicion of the murder of Alexander Karim, who was shot in Shepherd's Bush. A van containing gas cylinders has exploded on a street in Feltham. London reached the peak of coronavirus weeks before the rest of the country, but that doesn't mean that the threat is over. The number of new COVID cases is increasing in 2/3 of London's boroughs. And while there is no cause for further lockdowns yet, a World Health expert is warning the risks in the capital are extremely serious. Well, Dr. David Nabarro is the World Health Organisation's coronavirus envoy for Europe, and he joins me now. Dr. Nabarro, thank you so much for joining me this evening. We know that cases in the capital, you mentioned the numbers there. Now, Public Health England say that they can't provide us with daily figures for the capital that accurately reflect what's going on in different boroughs, because different boroughs collate that information in different ways. I mean, given that London is one of the most populated cities in Europe, this is really quite a problem, isn't it, in assessing just how bad the situation is or how much it's changing. What you think here, Dr. Nabarro, do you think when we saw the ease of restrictions at the beginning of July, for example, we saw some pubs able to open again? We saw pictures there of quite a lot of people. We saw those scenes in Soho on that Saturday night, and it was quite busy. Do you think that we're easing restrictions too quickly here in the capital? And do you think, for example, that schools will even actually be able to open in September? Still to come, the children's book honouring the coronavirus heroes and... But first, how much do you know about your mum's health history? Possibly not a great deal, but a London DJ is urging us all to find out when our mothers went through the menopause. Zoe Hardman started getting hot flushes, pain and dizziness last year. To her shock, she found out she was going through the menopause at just 37 and that the same thing happened to other women in her family. Ria Chatterjee has Zoe's story. Next tonight, according to London's mayor, one of the conditions to the government's bailout of Transport for London was to scrap free travel for under 18s in the capital. The controversial move was apparently designed to discourage overcrowding on the transport network when children return to school in September. However, campaigners argued that for some it would mean the tough reality of not being able to afford to go to school at all. One of those campaigners is 17-year-old Olivia Farrier from Croydon. Her petition for the matter to be discussed in Parliament has now reached more than 100,000 signatures, and she joins me now. Thank you so much for talking to me tonight, Olivia. First of all, you've got so many people to sign this petition, haven't you? But what will it mean to you personally to scrap the free travel for under 18s? How will it affect you? What money are we talking about here? Because you've got a sister as well that your family would have to pay for. So how much are we talking a month that's going to be extra for your family to come up with the money? In the figures like that, it really makes a difference. And what has lockdown been for you? What's it been like for you anyway? How have you managed to carry on with your studies? Because a lot of children are finding it tough. Olivia, you've got the 100,000 signatures for your petition now, so hopefully it will be discussed. Well, explaining to a young child about COVID-19 isn't easy for parents. You don't want to scare them, but equally it's important that they are aware of the reality of the virus. A new book is hoping to educate children about the crisis and also shine a light on those who helped in any way they could. The book is called Health Heroes, the people who took care of the world. Katie Barnfield has been to meet one of the Londoners featured in it. Sally is here. Sally, a warm day today, but I love it.
You're going to love it. There are a lot of our lovely friends out there who aren't quite so keen. Or more for 3 days or more, so the heat's hanging.
Some lovely sun coming up, Sally. Now, you've been out all day finding out about a very unique method of getting people to socially distance in restaurants.
Yeah, you don't have to sit next to a teddy bear, but
I've had worse dinner dates. That is it for now. We are back, of course, with the latest after ITV News at 10. Coming up, Charlene White with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, bye-bye.